Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Wednesday, the 31st of July. Where'd the month go? I know I say that every month. It just seems like the older I get, the faster time flies. It's a good thing I'm going to live to be 120. Got a lot of work to do, a lot of reading to do, a lot of places to go, people to meet, life to live, God to worship. Anyway, a week ago today, I was working away in my office and I had the radio on and was listening to the Israeli Prime Minister speaking to Congress. And regardless of how I felt about what he was saying and what's happening, I was struck by the intonation, the idea that the whole the whole thing that we heard back in 2001 after 9/11 about if you're not with us, you're against us. And it was really striking to me, this idea that it was being understood by the Israeli prime minister that if you were speaking in favor or in support of the Palestinians, not Hamas, not Hezbollah, not other groups, but if you were speaking simply in favor of the Palestinian peoples, the humanity of them, then somehow you were anti Semitic, that you are speaking against the people of Israel. It reminded me, again, as I said, it reminded me of after 2011 when the President of the United States stood up at his speech, and he had invited people from around the world, and there were all his people there, and he thanked all of these countries, but neglected to thank Canada, who received all of those planes, and the country that stepped up immediately and said, yes, we'll shut down airspace, we will do whatever is needed, and we will take in your people. And we have things like musicals now that talk about that and honor that, which is fantastic. However, in that moment, what I remember, I was in 2001, I think I would just turn 30 years old. And I remember where I was and what was happening and listening to that speech. And I remember hearing, if you are not with us, you are against us. This black and white line drawn in the sand that said, if you do not agree with what we say, then you are our enemy. That I'm wondering if that was the moment in our Western world when we began to not recognize or to stop recognizing that there are areas of gray or rainbow areas. It's not all black and white. And hearing the Israeli Prime Minister basically using those words, if you are not with us, you are against us. Stating that just because people believe that Palestinian peoples need to have a place to live in the geography in which their generations upon generations of their people have lived, that they should be able to live there safely and freely and make their own decisions, and not be terrorized or driven out of their homes. If they are part of Hamas, then they are enemy. But if they are not part of Hamas, if they are simply people trying to live their lives, then why are they the enemy? I heard that and it broke my heart, because it reminded me that we are living in a world, at least in the Western world, I don't know what's happening in Europe and other places, but living here in North America, it reminded me that we have fallen into this strange dichotomy that we have. It's all black and white, that you are either with us or you're against us. You're either pro-life or you're pro-choice, and there's nothing in between. I read something the other day on Facebook that said if you say that you are pro-life and you use birth control, then you are actually pro-choice. Pro-choice does not mean pro-abortion. Pro-choice means people being for, in favor of people being able to make their own decisions. Just because a person, a man or a woman, is pro-choice doesn't mean they are necessarily going to say, I advocate for an abortion. But it means that they advocate that the person who is facing the situation that brings that to be a possibility, that they have the right to make that decision for themselves. And that person may indeed say, no, absolutely not. I am pro-life. I will not have an abortion. But to say pro-life versus pro-choice often ends up looking like people who are saying we're pro-life say that the people who are pro-choice are actually pro-abortion or something, and that's just not the way it is. That is not looking at the conversation, looking at looking at the environment of the conversation, and recognizing that it is not black and white or vice versa. There is gray area in between. There is a whole lot of geography between those two positions of absolute right to make your own decision, which is not absolute right that everybody should have an abortion, and the absolute right that you do not have the right to make an abortion, have an abortion. In between, there's a lot of conversation area. There's a lot of things that have to happen, a lot of discussion, a lot of prayer, a lot of factors that need to be taken in. And this idea that things are black and white and there's nothing in between is a fallacy. It's not true. It is not a question of yes, have an abortion, or no, have an abortion. It isn't. The politics of our world are not simply you are a conservative or a liberal, you are a Republican or a Democrat, you are an autocratic person, or you are a communist. It's not that simple. And we are throwing out the language and the ability to have debate and conversation in which we listen to each other with open ears and an open heart to hear what truth, what grains of truth the other person might be saying, simply because they come at the discussion or the argument from the opposite side we do. That we are moving into a world, if we're not already there, where we shut down everyone else's opinion because ours can be the only right one. It's a weird place to be because we have that over here, and then we have this whole thing about truth. In the last 10 years, 8 years, we have been having these great discussions about the big lie, or fake news, or what is truth and what is not truth. Things that we have known to be true. All of a sudden, we are being told, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that. That's not the way it was. And because of things like social media, like this, things that instant communication, just the speed with which information comes at us, that we don't have time to sit down and fact check. For instance, the debate, the great debate that was talked about so much, or the horrible debate that was talked about so much in the States. One of the candidates, one of the debaters, was throwing out information that was not true, and the other person, the other candidate in the debate, was struggling to stay standing in the absolute tidal wave of lies that were coming at him. And the way that the debate was set up was the moderators were not able, and they were not allowed to fact check in real time to say, wait a minute, okay, what you've just said isn't actually true, or the way you have said that has been skewed, and this is the actual fact. Millions of people simply heard things being said with absolute authority and believed them to be true, even though, when fact checked, they have been proven to be not true. In some cases, not just misinterpretations, but outright lies. And the fact is that we are now living in a world where what we used to be able to say to our children, that's true or that's not true, has gone by the wayside because the leaders of our population, the peoples that we look to speak to us in truth, have actually begun trying to convince us that what we know to be true is not true, and what we know to be a lie is actual truth. And that where in our decision making and in our opinion holding, we have been forced to say that, or it feels like we are being forced to say, it's either black or white. There's no ground in the middle. It's just where opinion and information come, that in middle ground from which we can help to have our opinions, to hold tight to them, or to realize that maybe we should hold a little less tight to them and be open to new information that maybe we didn't have before. That's good to have that middle ground, that gray or rainbow area between the black and the white. But on the other hand, it's forever in memoriam, it has been necessary to know what is truth and what is not truth, what is a lie, what is untruth. And now we are finding that those two things have become murky, where it was before, it was good that these opinion places, that we could have two opinions and we could have this ground between that could be murky and messy, and we could play around in it or slog through it to figure things out. Truth and untruth were solid. And now the opposite is happening. Truth and untruth have become murky, and opinions have become absolute. Somehow our world has turned itself upside down, and that is not okay. We need to get back to that place where we can acknowledge what is actual truth and what is actual untruth, and be able to live comfortably in a place where those two things, truth and untruth, inform our opinions about things, and recognize that it's not black and white, that our opinions are based on truth, they're based on emotion, they're based on human experience, they're based on so many other things. But we have somehow flipped the roles. And that's not okay. It is hurting our society. Just because I do not support one person's decision does not mean I am against their decision. In no way, shape, or form am I anti-Semitic. In no way, shape, or form do I think that the Israelis should have had what happened to them by Hamas happen. It's horrible. It is horrific. I cannot even imagine it. And I would never want it to happen to anyone. And at the same time, I can hold the opinion that what is happening to Palestinians, not members of Hamas, but Palestinians, citizens, people, flesh and blood people who were living their lives, who were not anti-Israeli, but simply their family, wanting to live where their families have always lived and go to the schools they go to and go to their jobs, take care of their children and laugh and play soccer and do all the things families do. I can be pro-Palestinian without being anti-Israeli. I can be pro-Palestinian without being pro-Hamas. And that is a truth that needs to be recovered. Because if we allow our society to continue to believe that truth is flexible and opinion needs to be written in stone, then we will blow our societies to bits. It's bad enough that we're already heating our planet at record-breaking levels every day. We'll blow ourselves up if we keep this up. But again, truth and opinion have flipped. Climate change for some people, although it is a truth, well, I don't believe in it, so it isn't real. What has happened to our society and our ability to think and reason? We need to get that back. It is for the betterment of our whole society if we come back to a place where we recognize truth is truth and opinion is opinion. And we need to deal with those things appropriately. Have a great day. God bless. And I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.